Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Today, we're here with my buddy Lucas, and we're going to be talking about work-life balance. I think there has been this kind of badge of honor put on hustling hard in the real estate investing industry, especially over the last few years, and probably with the proliferation of social media where everybody can see how hard you're working. But none of us really got into real estate investing for that reason. So today, we're going to talk about work-life balance. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Lucas, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy. So it's interesting. I know you have a one-year-old baby, and I think you started in everybody starts at different stages. I guess I started in real estate when I was my early 30s. And so some people started earlier. So it kind of depends on what your background is as to how hard you want to hustle when you come in. Some people left what they were doing because they didn't want to work that hard. Some people, everybody has a different goal and everybody has a different background. But I do think that, and we talk a lot about it. Investor Fuel is it's about building a life that you enjoy, not necessarily about money, although you want to make enough money to be able to live the life that you want, right, and give back and all that. So, but there's more to it than just money. It's about lifestyle design, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm sorry I'm doing all the talking at this point, but before we jump in, why don't you just tell us your background and how you got into real estate investing?
Sure. So my background by education, I have a computer and electrical engineering degree. I've never done either one professionally in my entire life. I think as soon as I left college, I wanted to get into video games, so I got into the video game business. And I've always been more of a fan of guiding other people in doing something as opposed to doing it myself and getting my hands dirty. So my career has always been as a project manager, product manager type. And so did that for a few years in the video game space. And then after that, I decided I wanted to change. And I've always been interested in real estate because of the freedom that it, provides people. So then I decided to get into real estate, and I didn't really feel like it was that big of a leap, right? As a project manager, product manager, but just different kind of product, right? Instead of a video game, now it's a house.
Right. Yeah, real estate is it's not rocket science. It's pretty fundamental business. I mean, you got to generate leads, and you have a production. Like when I get it, here's how I sell it, and so it's that's obviously way oversimplified, but it's not. There's no not a lot of secrets in making the sausage. Like some of it is just focusing on never giving up, right? And just working hard initially, but I think eventually, like we talked about, that's not really the goal.
And the project management aspect of it is also simpler than a video game, right? Like
Sure,
a video game, it's not just a piece of technology; it's also kind of like art, right?
Right.
So how long does it take to make a great one, right? Who knows, right? You try to predict how long it's going to take and how long different things are going to take, but it's really difficult. Whereas real estate, it's a little bit more straightforward, right? You look at the comps, that's what you expect to get for it. Okay, now what is it going to cost to get there? Get some bids, okay.
Yeah.
Much more straightforward.
Yeah. So we were talking ahead of time, and I know you worked really hard before you got into real estate, and you kind of, I think in your words, you said, I was already kind of burned out, so I didn't get into this to continue to work that hard, right? So talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of people get into real estate, I think, especially when you're younger, and you're like, I'll do whatever I've got to do to make this work. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have that mentality, but sometimes people don't realize their opportunity cost, or, they haven't been burned out yet, and so they're on the path of getting burned out. They just don't know it yet.
I've never been a hustler, right? Like someone who hustles and just always going after it. It's just never been me. In high school, I just like skated by, right, and did the least that I needed to do. In college, actually, my freshman year, I was determined to excel because all my friends said that I wouldn't because I was too lazy. And I did pretty well. But after a year, I got burnt out. And the next 3 years, I worked a lot less and did actually a lot better than I did my first year. And then, after college, I went and worked in video games. Video games is notorious for, long hours, crunch time, stuff like that. After my first company that I worked at, I went to work at a company making, online games, games on Facebook and mobile games that were always on. So you're having to wake up, 3 o'clock in the morning because, someone discovered a bug that's preventing players on the other side of the world from playing the game, right?
Yeah.
You're literally working, you're available on call
On call,
24/7. So, when I've gone through like phases of being burnt out, right? Like I got burnt out on video games and working for other people. So then I was like, okay, now I'm going to go do something for myself. I decided pick real estate. And the first few years, I think I was really, working hard at it because, it was something new, it was exciting. But then the same thing happened, right? Just overwork, you kind of get burnt out and slow down a little bit. So I've had some stops and starts, right, of the burnt outness.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, this is a perfect business to have some lifestyle design in. And when you're an entrepreneur, there's some businesses, there's like in my neighborhood, there's a little village area and then we got some shops and stuff. There's one that owns a coffee store and she's always there though. Like she never leaves a job. She's on call from before most of us get up until, the evening or whatever. Right. And so lifestyle design is not really in the cards for her, apparently. A lot of those small businesses like that, you're owner operator. Right. And sometimes it's okay to have an active role in the business, but we just have more control. It's not like we have customers coming in all day long. It's like you can largely live your life through a cell phone and a laptop and you're kind of in business. And so I think there's more of an opportunity than most businesses to control your lifestyle, right?
Yeah, and I grew up around that too. My mom owned a small business, a little like kitchen and deli in my
Yeah.
hometown for like 7 or 10 years. And in that time that she owned it, she never could take a vacation. It was
Right.
hard to find someone that you can trust to run your business, for a week or two while you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. So you started and you kind of had some wisdom of what you wanted your life to look like. And now you've got a 1-year-old and I know you're committed to, spending time with your baby, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I absolutely, didn't want to do is just continue to just pour all my energy into the business and all my time into the business, and then look back a few years later and feel like I missed, this time in her life that everyone says, just flies by so fast, and you end up missing it.
Yeah.
And so not only, spending time with her and not, working all the time, but it's one of the reasons why I really love working from home, right? I don't necessarily feel like I only see her from, 6 to whenever she goes to bed, right? I see her throughout the day as I take a break or, step out of the office for a minute, and I get to interact with her for a few minutes at a time. So I don't feel like I'm as away.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting because there are some people too, and I'm probably guilty of this, that I find a way to fill the time up like work wise. I mean, like I told you, I'm a workaholic, right? So, but I definitely, I'll say this, I work hard, but whenever I want to do something, I'm just like, let's go. I can have that flexibility. I would say that when I was growing up, I grew up in a very blue collar family and, they were always there, but during the workday, they had no control. But after that, they had control, or maybe they have 2 weeks of vacation a year and that's kind of it. Right.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like, I take way more vacations or trips or just getaways than 2 weeks a year. And I can build my business and my life around that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's nice to just be able to like decide last minute you're going to take a Friday off and
Yeah.
go out of town and make the weekend a little longer.
So how do you, because you could work harder, right? You could fill up your day. You could be focused on 10X in your business. You could do all that. And you have the fortitude inside of you to say, I could, but I don't want to. Talk about that a little bit, because not everybody can control that. Like some people are just like, the problem with entrepreneurs is we move the damn goal line all the time. Like we say, I want to get here. Then you get there and you're like, well, that's nothing. Let me go to the next level. And so you never get there if you were kind of air quote there. Right. So just talk about, that balance, I guess.
I think it comes a lot from, one, my goals are more related to like the actual freedom, right? I think a lot of people's goals are around like number of deals a year or amount of money they want to make in a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, it's never been about that, right? It's just about having the freedom to do the things that I want to do. And so when I'm making the decision, do I work more? Do I not work more? It's like, well, what are my goals? My goals are to spend time with my family, do the things that I want to do. It's like, is working more going to get me there? It might help me do that more later, but it's not going to get me there in the near future, right? Whereas if I leave that work to the side and go do the thing that I want to do, I'm getting the freedom that I want right now, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like we have this goal of freedom and we have some of it, but I don't think we realize we have it to like use it now. I think we always feel like it's like coming later when we achieve a certain amount of money or a certain amount of deals done.
Yeah.
And also just one thing I've gone back and forth with struggling with and not struggling with is comparing yourself to other people. Right?
Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
Tyler in the group, I think about him all the time because I'm always thinking to the thing that he keeps saying, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. And I love that saying. I didn't learn it until recently. I heard him say it. But I've struggled with that over the years, right? You go to RIAs, you talk to people, you see what other people are doing, and you're just like, man, like, how come I'm not having, the same level of success or what have you?
Who said that was Tyler Thrush that says that, or?
Yeah.
You've got a couple Tylers, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I'm gonna. Every once in a while, when I hear a good quote, I just steal it. I'm gonna steal that one.
I think he stole it from a book because I was looking yesterday for book recommendations in the group, and he wrote a post where he recommended a book, and when I looked up the book to save it, I think it was I saw it in the description. But I'm glad he said it. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is I think just like not comparing yourself to other people. Right? I think that also really helps.
It's so hard to do, and I think there's so much, social media, which many of us are on. I spend too much time on it for sure, but it's so one-sided. It's not the whole story, and we tend to like assume that, wow, their life is awesome, and it's like, I've known people that do a lot of deals, for example, and their life sucks. Like they just have, they're like, things aren't good at home and health-wise might not be good. So there's always more to the story, and social media rarely tells the whole story. Rarely.
Yeah, and that was something that one of my mentors in Florida, kind of said the same thing. He was like, it's only half of the picture, right? Like for all that guy, leases his Bentley and lives with his mother, right? So you can't always you got to take everything you hear with a grain of salt.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things that I've thought about this over the years. I've done it a little bit before, but didn't really work out right. And I think one of the challenges is I think one thing that could help us, right? And I'm sometimes I give advice, and I'm giving it to as much as myself as whoever I'm talking to, is we have level 10 meetings in our business. We have all these KPIs we track. We track performance on our business, but sometimes I don't track it on my personal life. It's like, what's my level of joy? Or how am I acting as a husband, as a father, health-wise, spiritually, whatever it might be for you, is having a scorecard for those things. It's so easy to do, but we tend to do it for our business and then not so much for personal life. I don't know about you, but I'm guilty of that. And as I'm talking here, I'm like, I got to get that back in play.
Yeah, absolutely. Trevor talked about this at the last few of it, right? At the end, he talked a little bit about his system that he uses for kind of evaluating how he's doing in all the different aspects of his life, and I did that exercise after he spoke about it. And it definitely helped me kind of crystallize that stuff a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Just helped me realize like where I might even think that I'm, putting in the effort, right? It's kind of the same thing with work, right? Like being busy versus being like productive, right? Like sometimes you're working but you're just being busy, right? You're just doing busy work. You're
Yeah.
not really doing the things that are really going to get you to where you want to go. And it's kind of the same thing even with, personal stuff, right? Like, I think in doing that exercise, I realized that I might be spending time with my family if you like look at the clock and like look at what I'm doing, but like, am I really there with them?
Yeah.
Right? Am I really engaging?
Present.
And yeah, and actually, like, are we just like sitting there next to each other and not talking, or are we actually like engaging and having
Yeah.
furthering the relationship?
Yeah.
And so that was the thing that kind of doing that exercise kind of you know showed me, is that it's not just spending the time, but also like what you do with that time.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely guilty of that. We've done some, there over the years, we've done some big trips. I remember my son is, when I don't think I flew on a plane until I was like 18. Like, he came out of the womb like being a world traveler, just because that's what we wanted to do. And so we were doing all these trips. But when I look back, it was pretty common that we're out somewhere really awesome, like a dream trip of some sort. And I'm thinking about, I'm on the phone talking to my contractor, or dealing with issues or whatever, way more than I should have been, for sure. And it's just because it's such a connected world. It's so easy to do that, but you got to draw those boundaries for yourself. I think we all have to draw those boundaries. I mean, it's so easy to be connected to anybody in the world right now, but it doesn't mean you have to be. You could shut the door, you can turn the phone off, I guess. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm guilty a lot of like working from the couch, right?
yeah.
Because it feels like you're killing two birds with one stone, right? You're getting work done and you're spending time with your family, but like you're kind of half-assing both.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Lucas, you've been in Investor Fuel for a little while now, and we're proud to have you as a member of the group. Would you mind just sharing a little testimonial of what Investor Fuel, what the experience has been like for you, and maybe how it's impacted your business or your life?
It's been amazing. I think it's been really pivotal for me because I am the kind of person where I can become very, in my own world, right? Like, I work from home. I'm a homebody to begin with. And then with everything going on, right? South Florida, at least where I'm at, was pretty shut down until very recently, like a week ago. Um, so, I can get very just in my own world, and like, I have colleagues, in the area, but it's not like we interact a bunch, right? So, in the past, I had a business partner, and so it was mainly, my business partner was that person who I would go to, to like bounce ideas off of or whatnot, right? But we're also like just too similar, I think, right? We think too much in the same way, so it wasn't always necessarily, super helpful. And now that me and my partner kind of went our separate ways, Investor Fuel has just really helped me have a group of people that I can go to, to talk to about what's going on in my business, what's going on in the real estate market in general, and just kind of get really good feedback, right? People there have so much experience, and everyone's just, really big on sharing. So it's just been invaluable, really, right? I think, you know, I would not be able to be a solo entrepreneur, I think, without, a group like Investor Fuel, having my back. I've got to have, someone that I can go and bounce ideas off of. And it's got to be someone who really shares a lot of the same, values in terms of what's important to you, right? It's it's hard to find in your local area, right? In your local area, you might find one or two people, right? But to have that large of a group with such different experiences, right? I don't think you can get it without, joining a mastermind like Investor Fuel.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. We appreciate you, for sure. I think,
Yeah.
we've got something really awesome here, and it just takes bringing members into the group that kind of share those same values, like you said, that are willing to share and open up. And not everybody knows that they have that in them until they come in the group. I think you probably experienced it too, is you come into the group and you heard that. We talked about that before you joined, then you come and you're like, wow, this is like, people are more open than I thought they would be about things in their life. And I know you said you were talking to another member here for like 90 minutes the other day, just talking through some issues. And I think for people that are willing to do that for one another, because we all reciprocate that, is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Lucas, if folks wanted to get a hold of you, they wanted to reach out or connect in any way, what's a good place for them to go?
So they can connect with me, if they go to our website, househeroes.com, they can get our contact info there. They can also reach out through Facebook. I'm on Facebook a good bit, so they can find me on Facebook or House Heroes on Facebook.
Awesome. We'll add those links down below. So thanks for spending some time with us today, and thanks for sharing your story a little bit.
Yeah, my pleasure. Had a blast.
Awesome. And everybody, thanks for joining us for another episode. We're cranking through these every week, bringing you awesome guests from Investor Fuel. In fact, our next meeting is actually coming up here pretty soon. If you haven't checked this out yet, you can schedule a call with us, and love to tell you more about it and see if we're a fit for one another. So appreciate you guys a ton. We'll see you on the next episode. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.